Welcome to today's explainer. Okay, we are jumping right into this one. Because if you're building a product, you already know the absolute soul-crushing grind of user research. Seriously, we've all felt that visceral pain of trying to recruit users for interviews, right? It takes weeks. You send out countless emails. You're practically begging for just 15 minutes of their time. And then, well, half of them cancel at the very last minute. And the ones who actually do show up, they usually just spend the whole time complaining about legacy features you have absolutely no power to fix anyway. It's exhausting, it's incredibly time-consuming, and honestly, it brings your entire roadmap to a crawling pace.
Because finding those real users takes so long, lately you might have stumbled onto a bit of a shortcut, a cheat code really, called synthetic users. Suddenly, you can just open up an AI window, type in something like, act as a frustrated 35-year-old enterprise buyer, and boom, the AI instantly spits out this perfect, highly articulate paragraph of feedback. You can simulate behaviors, test out your ideas super early, and bypass all that grueling fieldwork. I mean, you can literally validate your entire product roadmap before you've even grabbed lunch. It feels like absolute magic, doesn't it?
But look, here is the brutal reality check we really need to talk about today. When you do this, you are building a product for an algorithm, not a human being. When we rely entirely on these flawless, AI-generated usability reports, we end up creating a really dangerous illusion of validation. Because the AI sounds so incredibly convincing and thoughtful, we kind of trick ourselves. We start to believe we've achieved true product-market fit. But what we've actually achieved, just a perfect score in a completely artificial game.
To put that into perspective, here's the fundamental difference between bots and people. An AI doesn't have a credit card. Actually, think about that for a second. An AI doesn't have a bad day at the office. It doesn't get confused by that weirdly colored button you just decided to add to your checkout page. It doesn't get a migraine. And, most importantly, it literally cannot pay you for your software. You are optimizing a product for an entity that will never, ever be your actual customer.
Which begs a very uncomfortable question. Who are you actually talking to? Seriously, think about the last 10 user insights that drove a material change on your product roadmap. Out of those 10, how many came from a real, breathing human being who actually logs into your software? If your answer to that is 0, well, your product strategy isn't really a strategy anymore. It's a hallucination.
And that hallucination happens because of a massive, fundamental mismatch. On one side, you have the AI persona. It's mathematically probable, highly logical, and fundamentally, it's just a huge people pleaser. I mean, large language models are designed to be helpful, to predict the most mathematically probable next word. If you ask an AI, hey, would you pay for this feature? It will almost always find a highly logical, supportive reason to say yes. But on the other side, we have real humans. And humans are messy, they're irrational, unpredictable, and totally chaotic. If you build a minimum viable product that performs perfectly in a flawless artificial sandbox, it is going to completely collapse the second it hits real-world friction.
Which brings us to the core danger here, confirmation bias. When you rely solely on synthetic users to validate your product decisions, you aren't actually doing product discovery. What you're really doing is building a massive, impenetrable echo chamber for your own ideas. You're basically asking a mirror to tell you how incredibly smart you are. You propose a feature, the people-pleasing AI tells you it's brilliant, and you feel great about yourself. But let me warn you, when you finally launch that so-called validated product out into the wild, the silence from real buyers will be absolutely deafening.
Here's a little dose of brutal honesty for you. An AI persona cannot churn. Just let that sink in. A bot cannot log into G2 and leave you a scathing one-star review because your export feature is completely broken. A bot cannot call up your sales team and angrily refuse to renew a massive enterprise contract. We absolutely have to stop optimizing for the bot that won't pay us and start talking to the humans who will.
Okay, let's take a breath. Moving on to Section 2, the warm-up act. Hypothesis, not conclusion.
So, does everything we just talked about mean you should just throw synthetic users in the trash? Absolutely not. AI simulation is an incredibly powerful tool. It's fantastic for product teams. But you have to know exactly where it belongs in your workflow. Synthetic validation has to complement, not replace, your real human research. You use it to find the smartest questions. Look, when you don't have immediate access to your real users, you can absolutely use AI to role-play your target personas. You use it to stress test your baseline assumptions and surface those early signals. You basically let the AI poke all the obvious holes in your idea so that when you finally do sit down with a real human being, you aren't wasting their time. You're bringing them the absolute smartest, most highly refined questions possible.
Let's actually role-play this to see how it plays out in the real world. First, we have the lazy PM. The lazy PM goes to ChatGPT and says, "Hey, I designed this new onboarding flow. Is it good?" The AI responds, "Yes, it is highly intuitive and will save users a ton of time." The lazy PM says, "Awesome, let's ship it today." Boom. Their churn rate just spiked 40%. Now contrast that with the lethal PM. The lethal PM simulates that exact same flow, but the AI highlights a snag. Wait, step 3 requires a data export I don't have yet. The PM treats that flaw as a hypothesis. They take the prototype to 5 actual users, watch 4 of them get completely stuck on that exact step, and fix the UI before writing a single line of code. Guess what? That PM gets promoted. I want you to be the lethal PM. So let's dive into Section 3, the Synthesis Sandbox Playbook.
This is the exact tactical playbook designed to help you extract AI value safely without accidentally destroying your product's actual market fit. There are 3 distinct steps every product manager must implement to properly utilize synthetic data. Step 1 is the AI pre-interview. Step 2 is simulating extreme edge cases. And Step 3 is the real-world friction gate. If you follow this exact structure, you get all the speed of AI without the hallucination of fake product market fit. Let's break each of these down really quick.
Tactic 1, the AI pre-interview. Before you ever get on a call with a real customer, load your target persona into a large language model. Have the AI aggressively critique your prototype or your interview script. Tell it to find the flaws. Let the AI spot all those obvious gaps and confusing layouts so you don't end up wasting your precious 30-minute human interviews asking basic foundational questions. Just get the easy mistakes out of the way first.
Tactic 2 is all about simulating extreme edge cases. Tell the AI, act as an angry, exhausted user who has terrible internet and absolutely hates reading instructions. This is how you simulate the extremes. Real users usually follow the happy path when you're watching them in supervised tests, but in the real world, like we said, they're chaotic. Use synthetic data generation to move entirely off that happy path. Simulate bizarre, extreme, frustrated behaviors to intentionally break your workflow and see exactly where it snaps.
And finally, Tactic 3, mandate the real-world friction gate. Listen, this needs to be a hard, non-negotiable rule for your product team starting today. No feature, absolutely none, gets shipped based solely on synthetic data. Your minimum viable product must hit real human friction to prove actual viability. The AI gives you the confidence to build the prototype, for sure, but the real human friction, that gives you the permission to actually ship it.
So let me issue a direct challenge to you right now. Are you avoiding real customers? Because if we're being completely honest with ourselves, sometimes we use AI simply to avoid the deep discomfort of talking to our users. Hearing that your idea is terrible from a real person, well, it hurts. But if you're hiding behind a chatbot just to avoid hearing harsh feedback, you aren't a product manager anymore. You're just a passenger.
Let's wrap this all up with our core takeaway for today. Simulation is the warm-up. Friction is the truth. Synthetic users are a brilliant sandbox. But at the end of the day, a sandbox is still entirely artificial. Use AI to simulate behavior, generate your hypotheses, and test those assumptions early on. Get smarter with the simulation. But always, always demand that real-world friction before you ever claim victory. Because ultimately, your product lives and dies by real people experiencing real problems.
Okay, let's end on a fun note. I want to leave you with this final, provocative question to think about. What is the most ridiculously fake, overly positive feedback an AI has ever given your product? Think about a time a synthetic user told you an absolutely awful idea was just pure genius. Keep that memory in your back pocket as a constant reminder of the sandbox's limits. And that brings us to the end of our explainer today. Thank you so much for joining me to unpack the reality of synthetic users. Remember to keep seeking out that real-world friction, and I will catch you in the next explainer.